Hello, everyone. We are talking to Rachelle Garcia Seliga today, and she is a mom and she's a midwife, and she runs a very, very beautiful website and organization called Innate Traditions. And their mission statement is definitely one you should go look at, because it's all about bringing humanity back and bringing women to the front, remembering ourselves as
here's
ours. Here's the reason that why we're doing everything.
Yeah.
Come and say hi.
Come and say hi.
Ja, kom og sig hej. Kom og sig hej, Lua. Ellers så skal du gå ind igen.
I'll wave to you and you can see me from the side.
Yeah, she waved to you. Så skal du blive derinde, okay?
Så bliver du derinde, skat.
All right.
Yeah, so she's the reason that we started this whole thing, and we behind a lot of our movement towards doing this work and our, let's say, awakening and all this. And one of the reasons that we have taken 3 midwives in this series is because we see a lot of midwives also being part of this whole movement of getting back to our roots, to connect to ourselves, connect to women being women, and the sacredness of birth.
Yeah, and taking the birthing back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks
so
for
welcome.
having me. I'm happy to be here.
So what is the work that you do in this world, Rachelle?
So I consider myself a midwife, even though I'm not going to births right now. I haven't attended a birth probably in like 6 or 7 years, but my whole foundation is midwifery. And I spent all of my 20s working with midwives through traditional apprenticeship route. And I just feel like that's who I was born to be, So I feel like my roots are in midwifery, and then all of the work I do is just an offshoot of that soil, right? Or those seeds that were planted. So my work now focuses on mostly postpartum care, but it's really the mother-baby dyad and really maternal health and wellness, because as I see it and understand it, the health of the mothers is our pathway to thriving health for humanity. So my work is just dedicated really to us getting out of our so much of it is like moral conditioning, right? Getting out of moral conditioning and just getting into physiologic truth, so that we can get out of like, what do experts say? And what is this say? And what do these people say? And it's like, well, what does our body say as what we need in order to thrive? And if we can just get out of all of that other stuff and just get into the physiologic design, we actually have a really clear, direct, easy map for our health, for all of our health, for men and for women, and at each life stage, and especially in this childbearing continuum, how do we create maternal health and wellness for the mother-baby dyad, and then for family systems. And so, like so many people have said before me, it's like, really, if we want to take care of the health of humanity, right, we start at home. And I really believe that it is a concentric ring effect. We start in here and then we go out here and like this. And so I say, we take care of the mother baby health for family health, and family health takes care of community health, and community health, well, then we get to planetary health. So that's what my work is. It's really inside out approach to things.
So when you speak.
Okay. Yeah, it's true. It's like everything starts with the mother.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to heal your child, for example, you need to heal yourself first. You need to heal the mother, and we discovered that in our family too. It was me who needed healing, and then the
better you got, the better our family got, and the better we also got as individuals. Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Right. And that's how it works. Right. So I feel like those are things that we should just know, that we should just know as people, but that we've largely forgotten. And so many of us now as mothers, we're learning that through our lived experiences, and the lived experiences at this time are usually really, really shitty experiences, right? And so those really dark, shitty kind of experiences are helping us to wake up, to be like, wow, this is so much. And it's that reckoning of like, if I want my baby to be well, if I want my family to be well, I have to be well as the mother. But then we have to look at, but then who's resourcing the mothers, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do we get well when we're carrying all this as mothers, when in the modern world, most mothers have little to no support, right? So yes, I mean, we can't actually talk about the health of our babies or the health of children or the health even of adolescents unless we're talking about maternal health care, right? And through all of the science and studies and research that has been done, we know that so many of the chronic health problems that we actually have as adults now come from the time when we were small children, right? Yeah. Really, and come from us not receiving the kind of care and connection and attention that we needed. But that is coming from ultimately mothers not being resourced optimally, right? So it's constantly that line back to the mother. Mother is child's first teacher because the baby grows inside of mother's womb, right? So everything that the mother feels, the baby feels inside the womb, and then our babies are born. And the primary co-regulation is happening with mother, right? So whatever the state of mother is the state of baby, right? And a lot of people think that when we talk about the mother-baby dyad, right? Or you say mother baby, or people hear mama toto or all these things, they think, oh, that's so sweet. Like, it's just kind of a endearing concept. But what they don't get is that that's physiologic, that's biologic, right? Like, mother is actually regulating baby's breath and baby's heartbeat and baby's temperature and baby's brain waves, and everything is biologically synced in with mother, right? Especially for the first year of life, and then really for the first 3 years of life. So always we access the health of our babies through the mom.
When I was studying to be a body therapist, two of my teachers, they had been working together for a long time. And well, one of them was a woman. When she came in and she was a newborn, like just had her baby, and she was getting a treatment from her teacher, the baby was in a cot on the floor, couldn't see the mother that was on the massage table. But when she was getting treatment on her left shoulder, the child would be moving her left shoulder. When she was getting treatment on the right leg, the child on the floor would be moving her right leg. So there is a connection, like there's something we can't see. And the like you said, the first 3 years, it's not just like, oh, that's cute. There is some kind of unseen connection.
Yeah. And I remember when I gave birth to our first child, he was on my chest. And I can't remember what they did. Maybe they were putting in some stitches of some sort. And I just held it in because I didn't want to scream in the face of my newborn baby. But he started to scream and cry.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing, you say the mother and the child, but the ovum is made while the mother is in the grandmother. So the ovum that we become. So that we actually have like a connection all the way back there, and the genetic imprint of whatever materials our grandmother had at the time that she was preparing our mother to come into the world. That becomes us as well, you know. So
yeah,
right.
How was grandmother doing back those many years ago? Probably not too good.
Yeah. I know. I kind of like think those things are a little bit funny because oftentimes in the world of social media, people make memes out of those things and send it around like, this is so beautiful. And I'm like, it has the potential to be really beautiful, you know, but what I look at when I'm seeing that at this point in time, right? And as humanity is like, this is how intergenerational trauma is transferred, anywhere from the mental, emotional, but to the real physical, tangible effects of that, like intergenerational nutritional deficiencies, right? They call it the 3-generation footprint. So when we're dealing, with health things now, and we're like, what the heck? I've been living this healthy way of life for 20 years, and what's going on here? Or, so many of the other things. For us to understand that, again, we have to look at maternal diet, right? It's like, what were our grandmothers eating? How well were they nourished on all levels? So these are the things that we're really needing to remember at this time in terms of priorities, right? As we reorganize ourselves through this time, as the world as we know it comes undone. And we're like, okay, well, how are we going to create this new world? So that's why I'm like, okay, we're going to create this new world with mothers at the center, right? Which is really what matriarchal cultures have been about. A lot of people, if you say that now, they're like, because they think that somehow it's just putting women into positions of power that men have occupied through patriarchy. And that's not what matriarchy is. Matriarchy is understanding that mothers need to be at the center of a society in order for that society to thrive. And so how do we construct our ways of lives in real tangible ways that mothers are supported and nourished so that we can do the work that we have to do,
But for that to happen, we also have to have very strong males.
To hold the space so we can feel safe.
Instead of this sort of gray mishmash we have now where everyone's becoming, I don't know what.
No.
Nothing.
No, I don't know what either.
Yeah. It's neither female or male, is it?
Like women are trying to be men and men are trying to be women.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So when we take this overarching theme of whose life is it anyway, and seen from your viewpoint, like what's your perspective?
And whose life is it anyway?
Yeah, it's like, because you seem to be taking like a whole, like you're looking at many different perspectives, both in and out, like you're taking society, looking into the center of the, and making these women the core, but also looking from the women out into society. So it's not this very individualistic perspective you seem to be taking, but a holistic one.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing because I feel like it's both and, right? Because I've been writing about this and talking about this a lot lately because I think about this kind of all day, every day, which is like, what we need right now is community, right? And I talk about revillaging and I talk about community as the medicine of our times. And so many people are waking up to this, right? Like, those who are going to be listening to this, if there was a room of us and there was 100 of us and we say, how many people want to be living in community? You're probably going to have 100 people raising their hands, right? Yeah. Maybe 98, whatever. And then we say, okay, well, how many people want this? And, there's 98 people raising their hands, and how many people are actually living like that? Maybe 1 or 2 people are going to raise their hands. And so then when I see things like that are happening, it's like, well, why is it like that? If there's so many of us right now that are awake to this essential need of community, why is it not actualized yet? And because it's painful for a lot of us, right? Especially those of us who are raising children right now. And we know it's so dysfunctional to raise children on our own and all of the things. I'm like, why is it so difficult to actualize community, right? And what I've gotten to lately is, because I always feel like, well, there has to be some kind of purpose in the sense of how is this serving the evolution of consciousness? Okay, that's where I go. Like, how is this, even if we look at birth trauma, right? I'm not saying I agree with industrial birth, and I'm not saying I agree with the rates of C-sections and all these things. I don't. It's horrific, but there's got to be some larger purpose of how is that serving consciousness if this is what's happening, right? So in this thing of community, and when I asked that question, what I got is that I feel like this time is really about us coming into our own personal sovereignty, because I really believe that only if we are sovereign individuals can we actually come together in healthy interdependence. Okay. Because all of these communities of the past, the intentional communities all over Europe and all over the United States and in so many parts of the world that really came about in the 70s, right? 70s and 80s and like that. The ones that I know about, most of them have disintegrated. Okay. And the ones I visited, I'm like, I would never want to live there. Right. Because I feel like there's so much codependence and it's dysfunctional. And I get it. Right. It's not like I'm judging people because they're codependent, because most of us didn't have healthy co-regulatory experiences as children growing up in our families. And so we're all messed up in our relational dynamics, right? And so if we just all come together in our way of being in our codependence, then we're going to get this kind of dysfunctionality going on again. But I feel like we're really refining our personal sovereignty. And through that process, we can actually understand that we are 100% interdependent as human beings. Okay. So some people would hear that and say, well, aren't those two totally in opposition to each other? And I don't believe they are. I believe that when we can be sovereign individuals, then we can come together in healthy interdependence, because from this place, we understand, like I can be here and say, I understand that my life is dependent on yours and your life is dependent on mine. And what happens to my health affects your health, and what happens to your health affects my health, because we're one functioning human family within this larger system of life. But most people aren't there right now, right? And so that's what's going on, I think, right now on Earth, even though it's going at a slower pace than I would like it to go. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I guess we're learning this lesson right now, you know. I'm like, let's get on with it. But
it does take all that trauma to become awakened. It does take going from like a village life, going into the city, becoming factory workers, becoming so individualized, to realize what it actually is, that like you have to move away from it. You have to have the pain to feel like, okay, I don't want somebody to bang a hammer on my thumb, you know. So to waken up and to see all these things, there has to be some process that takes you away from where you were thriving and then going back. And like we're several generations from that point, 150 years ago. So when 80% of us were farmers living out in the countryside and working with our family all day. So yeah, it's a birthing process.
Totally. And I feel like, you know, even that evolution makes sense to me, because just in terms of the evolution of our consciousnness, because there's no part of me, right? A lot of people, when I talk about these things, especially my classes, they'll get into this, like, oh, going back to how it was, or, you know, a lot of people will like romanticize even indigenous peoples who are still living in this way that we're talking about. But I feel that I'm not talking about going back, right? I'm talking about we have to go forward, because even within these lived ways of life where people are living in community still, I've experienced a lot of those realities, and there's so much dysfunction even within them, because then you get into like tribalism mentality. Then you get into the self not evolving to be part of the culture or the tribe. Okay. So I feel like where we're going is, how can we create communities that honor the individual's evolution, right? The individual's sovereignty, and do this in community, so that we're not holding each other back, but instead like exalting each other forward. So I have not ever seen a template for this. And I have lived in and been in a lot of community settings, including indigenous to North America, Native North America and Mexico. And there's no part of me that's been like, oh, I'd really love to live within this community. No, I would not, No, I would
How
not.
do we get there? Do you have a recipe or just the next step?
The next step, I think, is just for us to all be engaged in doing our healing work. I really feel like if we're all engaged in doing our respective healing work, then we bring this shift to the collective, stop with like the finger pointing thing and then just start now. I feel also that so many people, it's like, we have this tendency as humans to wait until something is perfect to do it, or wait until we study something more to do it, or wait. And I just think we have to do things. I think that we have to start with where we're at, with what we've got right now. And we learn in the process of the doing.
The class you're teaching, I think you said in January, and was that about postpartum?
Yeah, so that my postpartum class I teach once a year. That's how I've been doing it now for the past year or so. And for the past year, I taught it once a year. And then before that, I was teaching it multiple times a year. But now it's a 9-month training. I've turned it into 9 months, like a pregnancy, right? Mm-hmm. Students have 9 months in class, and then there's 9 months after class. So it's intragestation, exogestation. They have 9 months after class to do the rest of the work. And it starts in March, actually, but registration will open December this year.
Does that have to do with healing work as well?
So all of what I teach is inside out work, all of it, because I feel like if we're going to be in a way that we're in service to other people in this world, and whatever our work is, we're body workers or midwives or nurses or whatever, the more we're engaged in our own healing work, and the more healed we are, the more we have to actually give, and it keeps us in integrity, so it's all inside out work.
Sounds really good.
That sounds, necessary.
Yeah. Really necessary now.
There's so much healing to be done, and so much inner work to be done on so many different levels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're moving pretty quickly right now. Things are moving fast these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know that we're impatient because we've been waiting all our lives for this to happen.
Yeah.
And now we're like, okay, I've seen it. Can we just get it over with now? Yeah. Can we get to the good part?
Just like a woman, like those last few days before giving birth, it's like, okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah. Just get him out of here.
Yeah.
But it's the birthing process that's the great experience. It's not the pregnancy and all that. It's nice for some, but if you can just be in those moments where you're giving birth and feel the baby rotate out of you and witness the sacred thing that's happening. It's because it's really, when you think about it, when you're pregnant, there's someone else inside of you, and you can see like hands and feet sticking out. It's so weird, like alien, right? And then when you're giving birth, you're a portal between the non-physical and the physical. And how wild is that? And if you can be in that space and witness that.
And if we look at what we're all going through right now, and looking at out in the world, it's like, who's going into fear? Who wants the epidural? Who's fighting against this tooth and nail? And who's just like, okay, I can see what's coming. This is going to be great. And
we need to breathe.
Breathe and be with it.
It's a good reminder for me, because I'm just
no. Yeah.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you just saw, head on over to whoselifeisitsummit.com/podcast, where you can find full-length episodes as well as in audio format, and we do a lot of other cool stuff. You can hang out with us and other like-minded individuals who want to create a world that works for everyone, and we do that on our platform, where we can chat, and we have Q&As and exclusive interviews as well.
So there's so much to get over there. So come on over and play with us.